Hi, so we're going to test the load balancers on VMs with single page websites, and we're going to do that using Azure Bastion. So let's see how to do that. So before we go to the Azure portal, let's take a look at the diagram that we have here of the network we're trying to create. So we can see that we have added some more parts to this diagram. For example, we have here the Azure Bastion, and we have an SSL link from the internet to Azure Bastion, and we also have these SSH links to the servers. So what we did here is that we realized that we can't connect directly from the PC to the web servers, that's from the clients to the servers, because we've already created a load balancer, which is like a middleman between the web servers and the client. So we only have the public IP address of the load server. That's the outward facing public IP address, which means that the web servers would end up using the public load balancer's IP address. So we can't use the IP address to connect to the web server. In other words, we can't do that through the internet. So the option we had is to use a service called Azure Bastion, which helps us to connect to our web servers that do not have public IP address of their own. So we do that using an SSL link connection from the Azure portal. We open the Azure portal and we create Bastion and we connect. Then Bastion now connects with through SSH to the devices we want to configure. So the connection between Bastion and the web servers is more like a console connection we have when we are dealing with network devices and we do not want to connect to them through the internet. We want to do that through like the console port. So this is quite similar to that. So we do not need the IP addresses of the web servers to connect to them using Bastion. But before we can use Bastion, we have to create a subnet. That's the Azure Bastion subnet. We need to name it as that, and the subnet will be in the same virtual network with subnet 1. So once we've created the Azure Bastion subnet, it can now connect through the private IP addresses to the web servers. So let's see how that is done on Azure. So we're back to the Azure portal and we need to go to our first virtual machine. So click on virtual machines, and the first one is the web server 002. We notice they are currently stopped so that we avoid billing when it's not in use. So let's just click on web server 002, and now we can start the web server. We're clicking start. So we can see that it's currently running. So we're going to connect to Azure Bastion, and we can see Bastion here. So click Bastion, and it says Bastion is an Azure service that allows fast, secure connections to any VM within a VNet, that's a virtual network, and it uses the private IP addresses. So let's use Bastion. So the first thing, we need to create the Azure Bastion subnet, but I won't do that here. Let me show you how to do that. So let's go to virtual networks, which is here, and we can see the virtual network, and we have these three devices. That's web server 001 to web server 003 with their private IP addresses, and they're using subnet 1. So let's go to subnets to create our new subnets, and we can see the subnet 1, which is using 10.0.0.0 10.0/24. So we're going to create the Azure Bastion subnet to run at 10.0.100.0/24. So click on subnets. So name this as Azure subnet, and we'll make it at 100, just like that. And none, we don't want IP version 6, and that's fine. So save. And now we have Azure Bastion subnet and subnet 1, just like we have here as Azure Bastion subnet and subnet 1 within our virtual network. So let's go back to the virtual machine to configure Bastion and to use Bastion service. So virtual machines, web server 002, then connect again, Bastion, use Bastion, create the Bastion subnet has been done already. So we need to create the Bastion. The name is fine, VNet Lab 001 Bastion, and the public address is okay. So resource group is fine. So let's create Azure Bastion using defaults. So it's creating a new Bastion service for us. So we'll give it some time. So our Azure Bastion installation has completed. It took about 7 minutes, and we've been able to have it set up. So we can now set our username. We're going to use password because we have our username already. We'll just type that in, Azure admin, and our password, which we also have. And we're going to connect, open it in a new window. So we'll connect, and it's connecting to the virtual machine as the web server 002, and now we are successfully connected. So let's take note of this. If we click on this, this is where we can paste all our codes, that's our instructions. So we want to first of all get super user access. So we'll say sudo su, and now we're the root user. Then we would like to now install the Apache server, but before we do that, we have to make all the Ubuntu files that are going to be updated for that service to be installed. So we need to do that by sudo apt update, and now it's updating, getting all the files that are required. And now we are going to do the sudo Apache 2 and we'll enter that. So it's installing Apache, and it says, do you want to continue? Yes. And now it has installed Apache, and we want to confirm the status of the installation. So we'll type in sudo system Apache 2. So let's see. And now we have here that Apache is now running. Let's confirm the path working directory, and we'll just use pwd, and we can see it's in home Azure admin. So we need to go to the folder where the Apache HTML file will be saved. So let's put that as cd www/html. And now we're in the folder. Let's confirm that path working directory, and we can see we're now in the HTML folder. So let's list the files there, and yes, we have the index.html file, which is currently hosted there. We can look at it through cat index.html. So we have that the HTML file exists. So let's back up the file, and to do that we would move, that's the file index.html, to backup.html, and now we should have only the backup file there, which is what we've shown here. And now we'll need to create the index.html. so nano index.html. So we want to create that. So it's open the nano console. So we'll go to, this is where we currently have the HTML content. So I want to put that of the web server 002. So we'll go here, copy this one, come back here, open the clipboard, paste that. Now we have it pasted. You copy it again here, copy, come back here and paste it. And now we have this. So now we have pasted it. We'll now need to save it. So Control X, and it asks us, do you want to save? Yes. And now we are back to our console, and let's just find that is being created. So we can see that, and let us find what is inside index.html. And now we can see that we've saved that. So we've successfully done that, and we need to exit and exit, log out. So let's go to the virtual machine for web server 03. Let's start the web server, and let's do the same thing. Connect through Bastion, use Bastion, and we use the same username and password. Connect. So now we are connected to web server 003 through Bastion. This time we'll use the clipboard. So we're going to, first of all, would become the super user. Then we would need to update the Ubuntu files. Then this Y is to answer yes to the question that will be asked to continue. Sudo apt install Apache, yes, the same thing. This is to install the Apache web service, and then we check the status of the web service once it's been installed. Then this is what we did to enter the HTML file, which is the Apache file where the HTML files are stored. Then we also move the index file to backup, and we create the new index file, and from there we'll now be able to paste. So we just need to copy this, and let's close that, bring it here and paste it. And I did that, but I don't know, it seems like it didn't complete, but we were able to access as a root user. So let's just confirm the status. So I'll just take this, copy that, and I'll right click to paste. Let's see if that worked. So it's active and running, which means it was successful, and we were able to also execute the other ones under that. So fine. So let's open the nano file. Now we need to paste the web server 3, which is this. So I'll copy that, copy, I'll come back to the clipboard, remove, paste, and I would also copy that, come back here and right click to paste, and now we have the HTML file for the web server set. So let's save it, Ctrl X, and it says yes to save, and enter. So we've been able to save that. So let's confirm list, and we can see our files. So let's cut into it to see that it's been saved. And now we have that, and close. And now we're back to the Azure platform, and we need to ensure that web server 2 and web server 3 have the inbound rules supporting HTTP access to the both web servers. So let's check that. So go to networking, and we'll go to see that there is no HTTP inbound rule. So let's include that. So we'll add inbound rule, and what we want is any fine custom service HTTP, allow, let's call this 400, and we'll say this is permit access. Just copy that, put in the description, and let's go to web server 03 and do the same thing, add inbound rule. So would want to choose HTTP, call this 400, permit access, add. So let's refresh, and now we have the HTTP permit added to both web servers. But let's just do one more thing before we test the virtual machines, and let's go to the load balancer we created because it's currently active. So we'll go down to insights, and it's showing us metrics. But let's close that. So what we can see now is more like a virtual diagram showing us the connection we created. Let's take a look at this, the load balancer front end, and that's the load balancing rule, the back end pool, and we can see the web server health status 100% and the other one. So that's just showing us that we've been able to create this network. So let's go back to load balancer, and we want to use the IP address of the load balancer because that's what the two virtual machines will be using. Let's go to front end IP configuration. So we'll copy this, and what we expect is that once we use this IP address and we paste it there, that we should have access to either the web server 002 or 003 because the load balancer is sorting out between two of them, whichever it prefers to use. So we'll just copy this and keep opening it in a new browser. So this, or we can refresh, and we can see now 2 it's using. Refresh again, it's using 2. So let's come back here, paste that again, that's 2. Refresh, 3 is now using 3, and let's see, it still maintains 3. So what we've proven is that it has access to both web server 002 and 003 with the same load balancer IP address. So it means that it's choosing whichever feels performed better, and if both of them are at 100% capacity, then it just chooses one of them randomly. So we've successfully been able to create our link, and we've been able to access the web server. We were able to install the websites in the two web servers, and we were able to have access from our clients through the load balancer to the two web servers.